Alright, so welcome back to another video on this channel. Nathan Jones has just been sacked as Southampton's manager, and that's essentially what we are going to be discussing in today's video. First of all, obviously, was it the correct decision or not? Second of all, what next for Southampton in terms of the new manager they do go on to get? And then thirdly, of course, the bottom line, the big question, can Southampton scave off relegation in the Premier League this season? So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So first of all, let's just get into a bit of background about Nathan Jones and, his short, very brief tenure at Southampton as their manager. He only managed 8 Premier League games in total, which is absolutely mad to be fair, only winning one of those games, which was away at Everton, which doesn't even count because everyone and their nan in the Premier League this season was beating Everton. So yeah, basically he won one game out of his 8 Premier League games, and although he did do quite well in the cup competitions, he got pretty far in the FA Cup, got to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, losing to Newcastle over 2 legs, did beat Man City at St Mary's in the quarter-finals of the Carabao Cup as well, so he actually didn't do too bad in terms of the cup competitions. But in terms of the Premier League, it's quite clear to see that he was doing a very poor job. He didn't get a bounce or a reaction out of this Southampton team whatsoever, and never really got the fans to take to him, to be fair. I mean, from pretty much day dot, the fans wanted him gone. And yeah, like I said there, Southampton fans were pretty much hounding this guy out for the last 3 or 4 weeks, absolute minimum. And if you go onto any of Southampton's social media pages, literally every single post they put up was just Jones out replies all over the comment section from Southampton fans, obviously. So I think with that in mind, it probably was the right decision because, yeah, like I said, he didn't get a bounce, he didn't get a reaction out of this Southampton team who were doing quite poorly when Ralph Hasenhüttl did get sacked in November, and as I said, the fans never took to him. And when it gets toxic in the fan base, especially, how toxic it got, and pretty much what I could see anyway, 90% of the Southampton fans didn't want this guy, wanted him clearly gone. And yeah, with all that in mind, I do think it probably was the right decision for him to go, to be fair. And you could just tell the writing was on the wall for Nathan Jones, and there was nothing really going to be able to turn around because, like I said, with how toxic and how much the fans were against him, I don't think it ever really ends well. I mean, the only example I suppose you could use to counter that is, how well Mikel Arteta has done at Arsenal and his overall situation during his tenure at Arsenal, when in the 2020-2021 season, he was pretty much hounded out around November, December, and obviously this season they're top of the Premier League in a title race, so you could maybe argue that as a fact that they should have given him time or whatever like that. But one thing I will argue is the fact that Southampton, they don't have time this season to be given a new manager, a year or two to scave off relegation or to get this team ticking, because they're in a very bad situation at this moment in time. They're obviously bottom of the Premier League with 15 points to their name this season, because I think relegation is simply not an option for Southampton this season, simply because of the fact I think that they'll really struggle to come back up if they do get relegated, and that's simply why they just didn't have time to dither around Nathan Jones. And this is why the new manager decision is absolutely crucial from Southampton, because they need a manager, first of all, that's going to get an instant reaction, get an instant click out of these players. They're going to need a manager, obviously, that's system really fits this Southampton squad, because don't get me wrong, there's a squad to work with there at Southampton, and they do have some very good players for a system that includes, high energy, high tempo, Route 1 football to a certain extent, very similar to how they played under Ralph Hasenhüttl, who has actually been linked with a return to the job, which would be really interesting. But they do need a manager regardless who can, do all those things, as well as being able to set up a defence properly, because the defensive structure under Nathan Jones as Southampton manager was quite poor, and that was one of the things that mainly cost him his job, to be fair. So in terms of, who's up for the new Southampton job, Marcelo Bielsa is currently the favourite. He's the favourite for pretty much any job in the Premier League that comes available at this moment in time. I don't think that would make much sense, even though I wouldn't be totally against it given the personnel that Southampton have at their disposal, but I just don't think it makes any sense whatsoever for the situation that Southampton are in, because Bielsa is a manager who needs a team that are somewhat stable in the Premier League status, and I don't think Southampton would be a good fit for him at this moment in time, especially given the brand of football he would look to implement there. Ralph Hasenhüttl, obviously, as I said, he is the second favourite at this moment in time, which would be a little bit of an embarrassment for the Southampton board to sack him and then 2 months later be almost on their knees to get him back again. But I think if they were to swallow their pride and get Hasenhüttl back, it wouldn't be the worst appointment in the world, because I actually think that, if, especially given how Nathan Jones did after Hasenhüttl, I actually think Hasenhüttl did quite a good job there, and I think he actually would get a bit of a click out of this team. See, it really depends on his relationship with the players. Did he lose the dressing room in his last few games or his last few months in his tenure? I don't know. But if he didn't, I think that the Southampton players would probably be happy to see him come back, to be fair, because as I said, I think he did quite a good job at Southampton over a sustained sustained period of time and would give them probably quite a decent chance of staying up like he did in previous seasons. But whether it's Bielsa, whether it's Hasenhüttl, whether it's another manager completely who comes in, that of course remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, Southampton need a manager that, like I said, gets a reaction, gets a bounce, and just get these players clicking, because don't get me wrong, their position is dire, but their position is very salvageable. You know, they're 4 points off safety, 15 points to their name. Leeds are 17th with 19 points, even though they have a game in hand today against Man United. And the new manager that comes in will have some good young players and overall a good squad to work with in terms of a certain style of play. I mean, if you think of Gavin Bazunu in goal, a very good young goalkeeper with potential, even though he's not been the best this season. In defence, you know, Kyle Walker-Peters, you know, Armel Bella-Kotchap, Mohamed Salisu. In midfield, you have Romeo Lavia, Carlos Alcaraz, James Ward-Prowse, Paul Onuachu and Kamaldeen Sulemana. Of course, the new January signings, Mislav Orsic the same as well. So they have got some quality players, Southampton, and they do have a squad that probably is capable of, you know, beating the drop if they get the right manager in charge. So it's really, really crucial, this next decision for the Southampton board here. And look, don't get me wrong, I still think Southampton probably will get relegated this season, simply because of, you know, like I say on this channel multiple times, the circle of life in the Premier League is taking its toll on Southampton, in my opinion. They've been in the Premier League now for 11 years or so. And look, they've got some good young players. They've got some very good young players, like I said, in their squad, like I mentioned there, but I just think there's too much inexperience for the relegation dogfight, and that's what I think will catch up with them as well. And plus as well, I think there's probably not three worse teams than Southampton this season in the Premier League, which is another reason why I think Southampton will probably get relegated this season. However, what I will say is I'm not as sure on that as I was before Nathan Jones got sacked, but once again, as I say, it really, really depends on who this new manager is for Southampton and if he can get a bit of a click out of them and get a tune out of them straight away. But yeah, Southampton fans, let me know in the comment section below what you think. Have I, you know, hit the nail on the head, or on the other side, am I talking absolute shit? Let me know in the comment section below. Feel free to upset me in that sense. And yeah, leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. It would be massively appreciated as per usual. And also, if you could subscribe to the channel as well, that would also be massively appreciated, because we are looking to hit 2,000 subscribers on this channel as soon as we possibly can. So every single one of you that does hit that subscribe button helps me out massively in getting there as soon as possible. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video.